Because I haven't got paid yet, dumbass. You ever thought about that? TikTok don't pay out the moment the shit sends. I want some food right now. So be quiet then, Elijah. You giving me a hard time today. And you doing this while I'm on camera. Be quiet. Don't nobody tell me how to raise my motherfucking kid.
Mommy! Get off of me! That's right, get off my... Kiss me.
Don't tell her that. She kiss you on the cheek like a sister.
Some creators rise fast, only to fall even faster. But few drops have been as sharp as Lashy Hinton's. Once known as the modest Apple Store girl, a relatable face dancing her way into TikTok feeds, her story has taken a series of shocking twists that left fans and critics scrambling to make sense of it. From seemingly innocent beginnings, including makeup videos and skits, to a persona tied to financial requests, accusations of neglect, and public scrutiny, Hinton's path is anything but straightforward. How did someone who seems so grounded end up at the center of repeated controversies? And is it fair to judge her by the rumors swirling online, or is there more behind the headlines? When people talk about Lashy Hinton today, the conversation almost always circles back to one thing: accusations of scamming and bad parenting. It's a theme that has followed her for years, showing up in Reddit threads, lipstick alley discussions, and countless comment sections. Whether fair or unfair, her name has become tied to questions about money, children, and trust. And once that label starts following someone online, it's nearly impossible to shake. Now, the claims about the scamming are varied, but they all connect to the same point: that Hinton has asked for help from her audience without always being honest about how that help was used.
I wish I had my own money or I could pay that shit off. Oh, this shit is pissing me off, stressing me out. My whole life right now is really stressing me out.
Some people describe it as straightforward begging, constantly requesting money, gifts, or support without showing much accountability afterward. Others go further, suggesting a more deliberate pattern of deception, where emotional appeals were crafted to bring in donations under circumstances that weren't fully true. One commented, "Oh, it must be so nice to rely and live off the government. As I'm a single mom of 2 with a full-time job, barely making it by because I make too much." Another said, "What's closure? You can pay for closure? Shit, wish I had known that my whole life." One of the earliest and most discussed accusations is the claim that she scammed the unemployment system. On Reddit, users have alleged that she collected benefits improperly and ended up owing more than $7,000 back. That number, 7,000, has been cited repeatedly, passed around as evidence that her financial troubles weren't just the result of bad luck, but questionable decisions. To some, it suggested that if she was willing to manipulate or misuse government aid, she might be willing to do the same with strangers online. That claim became a kind of anchor for her critics. Even people who didn't follow her closely began to reference it, using the unemployment case as shorthand for the bigger problems they saw in her behavior.
Hey, y'all want to help me get some smoke today?
Of course, it's worth pointing out that most of these discussions are based on online posts and secondhand reports rather than official records. Still, the allegation has stuck, and for many people, it remains the strongest example of the scammer image attached to her.
Trying to dye my bundles a different color. Matter of fact, no, 150. 150 because I need a new closure. 150 because I need a new closure.
But the unemployment story is just one piece of the puzzle. Beyond government aid, there are ongoing complaints about the way Hinton has handled donations from her audience. Like many online figures, she maintained wish lists, often on Amazon, where supporters could buy items directly for her. Moreover, according to Lipstick Alley discussions, Hinton sometimes swapped out basic items for more expensive or unnecessary ones once donations started coming in. For critics, it was a sign that the initial appeals weren't entirely genuine, and that the urgent needs were more about creating a sense of obligation in supporters than actual survival. This is where her reputation began to shift. People stopped seeing her as a struggling woman and asking for help, and started calling her a panhandler. The term came up again and again in online conversations, tied to the way she consistently framed herself as a victim. Critics pointed out that she never seemed to pursue real work, that her energy went into asking for support rather than building stability.
Man, I'm starting not to like TikTok no more. I promise you, I'm not. I see why other content creators be dipping off on y'all because y'all some need some help. Like, swear to God. I see why all them other content creators don't with y'all.
And when she pushed back, saying she wasn't physically fit to hold down a job, it only deepened the divide. Some accepted that explanation, but others thought it didn't make sense, especially given the effort she put into maintaining an online presence. The dynamic was strange. On one hand, Hinton insisted she was being unfairly targeted, that people online talking about her didn't really know her life. On the other hand, her critics felt that she was actively shaping her narrative in a way that invited money without accountability. When someone constantly plays the role of a victim, the audience starts to question whether the hardship is real or exaggerated. And in Hinton's case, that question became the centerpiece of nearly every discussion about her.
I usually smoke every 420, but I ain't got you. But like I don't want. I want some food right now, and I'm trying not to drink too. So I'm trying not to drink tonight. I'm trying to slow down on the drink.
What makes Hinton's situation stand out is how central money has always been to her presence. Many creators eventually monetize their platforms, but Hinton's appeal for support wasn't tied to extra content, entertainment, or a project. It was tied to her as a person, her day-to-day survival. That blurred line made every accusation hit harder. If her story was inflated or if her behavior was deceptive, then the very basis of her online identity came into question. However, before the panhandler and broke comments started coming in discussions, Lashay was already facing backlash due to bad parenting. What's more, it wasn't a single moment that earned her that label. Instead, it was a pattern of behavior pieced together by people who claimed to follow her closely. Small details, stories, and videos that painted a picture of neglect and dysfunction inside her own home.
Who give a f*** about me being a deadbeat? How many of y'all give a f*** about me being a deadbeat? How many of y'all give a f*** about me being a deadbeat? The worst deadbeat in this earth. How many of y'all?
One of the most common accusations revolved around how she handled food with her children. A Change.org petition even surfaced alleging that Hinton restricted food from her kids, with critics arguing that meals weren't being provided consistently or appropriately. For those following the story, this became a serious point of concern because food insecurity is one of the clearest markers of neglect. When combined with the financial support she was receiving from viewers, it raised the uncomfortable question of why donations weren't directly translating into better care for her children. Schooling was another flashpoint. Reddit threads accused Hinton of failing to properly register her children for school and allowing them to miss multiple days because she was incapacitated by alcohol.
It's cool. I just didn't let him go because I didn't feel like doing all that. I had to get it. It's too cute. I had to get it.
For critics, this was more than just disorganization. It suggested a lack of stability at home, one that her children were paying the price for. Education is often the most visible measure of parental responsibility, and missing school days, especially for reasons tied to her drinking, quickly fueled claims that she wasn't providing the structure her kids needed. Why do people have kids if they can't be bothered to take care of them? I seriously don't get it. Beyond education and meals, there were broader concerns about basic care. Hygiene, living conditions, and clothing were all brought up in online discussions, with posters saying her children often appeared without suitable outfits for their age. These observations might have seemed minor on their own, but when added to the larger narrative, they fed into the picture of neglect. To critics, it looked like she was failing to meet the most fundamental responsibilities of parenting.
On the porch. I'm not feeding to them. All I know is ain't nobody else shit.
The accusations didn't stop at neglect. They also extended into verbal abuse. Multiple posts on Reddit described Hinton yelling at her children on live streams, with one particularly disturbing claim that she called her oldest son ugly and even spat on him during an outburst. For viewers, those kinds of moments stood out because they happened in real time in front of an audience. Unlike other allegations that came secondhand, these clips gave people something more concrete to point to.
Elijah, what's wrong? Tell me you gotta do all of that? Tell me you gotta do all that? All that is not called for. Ain't nobody yelling at him. I can yell at your ass. How about that?
It wasn't just speculation. It was behavior caught on camera that people felt confirmed the stories of instability at home.
So be quiet then, Elijah. You giving me a hard time today. And you doing this while I'm on camera. Be quiet. Oh my God, man. I am trying to chill. He doing too much, man.
There were also claims that she manipulated her children in front of the camera. Some users said Hinton coached her kids into saying certain things during live videos, shaping the narrative in ways that benefited her image. This was a particularly sensitive accusation, because it suggested she wasn't just neglecting them behind the scenes, but also involving them in her online controversies. To critics, this crossed a line. Children being used to defend or prop up an adult story online raised questions about their well-being and whether their voices were being twisted to fit her needs.
Then Elijah, we just had a talk, right? So what's the problem? What's the problem? What am I missing? What am I missing, Elijah? Elijah, but you're not being quiet though. You're not listening. You're not following my directions.
Faced with these accusations, Hinton didn't stay silent. She pushed back, saying the claims weren't true and that outsiders were twisting her life into something it wasn't. At times, she admitted she was far from perfect, but she also argued that no one had ever taught her how to parent. That statement, "Nobody showed me how to be a parent," became one of her most repeated defenses.
Let me say this one more time. Don't nobody tell me how to raise my motherfucking kids. They came out of my not yours. This is my household, not yours. You got a problem with the way I talk to my kids and raise my kids? Shut the up and go get some psychiatric help.
For supporters, it was a humanizing explanation, a way of acknowledging her struggles without accepting the harsher labels being thrown at her. For critics, it wasn't nearly enough. They felt that regardless of her background, the choices she was making were harming her children in the present.
Y'all believe anything. Y'all believe anything a hater tell y'all. Just because it's negative, you'll believe it. That's your problem now. Just because it's negative, no, it's not true. Y'all need to know the difference. Y'all need to figure out the difference. Y'all need to figure out the truth and come back and shut up. Just because a hating asshole tell y'all something, just because a hating asshole tell y'all something, that does not mean it's true.
What made these claims hit harder was that they weren't confined to one platform. Change.org petitions, Reddit discussions, and YouTube comments all carried variations of the same criticisms. The consistency gave the accusations a kind of weight, even if not every detail could be verified. In an online environment where perception spreads quickly, repetition often matters more than absolute proof. Those poor babies. Don't nobody telling me how to raise my kids now. CPS is telling you silverback. She deserves so much bad karma for how she treated those babies. It's unreal. For Hinton, these discussions marked an early turning point in how she was viewed. Before people focused on her panhandling or her unemployment debt, many had already decided that she wasn't living up to her role as a parent. And once that judgment set in, everything else she did, whether asking for money, explaining her circumstances, or pushing back against critics, was filtered through that lens. And that left her with little room to defend herself. Saying she was struggling or that outsiders didn't understand only went so far when people believed they were seeing neglect unfold in real time. Once the image of a neglectful parent takes hold, it's almost impossible to undo. Things escalated quickly after months of criticism over Lashay Hinton's behavior towards her children, but the situation took an even darker turn in 2022. The controversy reached a climax when allegations of sexual misconduct surfaced, this time involving her own family.
Shoes. She's supposed to.
Ow! I got to say a lot of that's right. No, I didn't.
Can y'all stop playing and lying on each other? That's all y'all doing, going back and forth and lying on each other. That's all y'all doing. If ain't one line, it's another line.
In December 2022, during one of Hinton's live streams, viewers claimed to have witnessed a disturbing incident. According to social media posts, Hinton's biological niece was allegedly assaulted while on camera. What shocked audiences even more was the perception that Lashay either ignored what was happening or failed to intervene in any meaningful way.
Don't do that! See y'all later. I just came to put my wig on.
Kiss me.
Don't tell her that. She can kiss you on the cheek like a sister. They on their tablets right
Kiss me.
Shoes.
The reaction was immediate and intense. Clips circulated rapidly, with critics accusing her of negligence and even complicity. A Change.org petition was soon launched, demanding accountability and urging platforms to take action against her. The petition gathered hundreds of signatures in a short span, showing how deeply the event resonated with those who had either followed her or stumbled upon the viral footage. For many, this wasn't just another instance of online drama. It felt like a line had been crossed. Unlike previous controversies about donations or content choices, this involved a child and allegations of abuse. Even people who had previously defended Lashay found it difficult to dismiss the seriousness of what was being claimed, brushing the same spot on her head for 15 years. She cared about perfecting that baby hair more than she cares for the actual babies. Lord, I hope baby girl never has to be in that situation again. She was so helpless. Hinton later acknowledged that troubling events had occurred while she was present, admitting she felt powerless to intervene at the time. She explained that the situation was overwhelming, leaving her unsure how to react and unable to act.
Yes, something happened. Me and my sister don't know what happened, who did it. The fact that y'all are labeling kids and labeling anybody, period, like y'all know what's going on behind the scenes is crazy. Like, there wasn't a camera there. Now y'all saying I did it because, like I said, this is why I don't speak on it.
While she recognized mistakes were made, she emphasized that there was no intent to harm and that she was now trying to process the situation and make better choices. Her admission highlighted the difficulty of balancing personal struggle with responsibility, especially under the scrutiny of an online audience.
Like, I didn't I didn't react to certain stuff fast enough. Like, I'm already dealing with it enough right here. Like, what do y'all want me to do myself? Because I'm not finna do that. I'm not finna do that. That's one thing I'm not finna do. So it's like...
What made matters worse was the permanence of the internet. Even after she tried to move forward, the clips, petitions, and forum discussions remained searchable. Every new video she posted would attract comments, dragging the past back up. Some viewers demanded she explain herself further, while others concluded she had no defense and chose silence to avoid incriminating herself. She needs to take accountability because it's the right thing to do, not because we want her to. She will never go forward if she can't own up to shit and learn to correct or prevent for the future. She is too worried about the internet and not worried enough about what really matters. What had started as debates about donations and authenticity evolved into something far more serious, reshaping the way audiences talked about Lashay Hinton and what kind of influence she should or shouldn't hold. Now, mind you, her own son said he and his brother held her down while the nephew touched her, and then she tried to get him to say it had nothing to do with her kids. But what made the December 2022 scandal so jarring for many viewers was the fact that Lashay Hinton wasn't always seen this way. Long before petitions, allegations, and donation disputes, she had built her name online with something far simpler: modesty, relatability, and a knack for entertaining content. In the beginning, Lashay's career didn't look anything like the drama-filled spectacle that later unfolded. She was first noticed for her light-hearted uploads about daily life, makeup, and routine.
I can't reply to all these comments, y'all. Thank you, TikTok. I don't know what to say. Y'all. Thank you.
Unlike many influencers who jumped onto YouTube or TikTok with polished, high-production content, Hinton's style was stripped down. She seemed like someone turning on a camera in their living room and just being herself. That was exactly what gave her a sense of authenticity in the early years. Her first significant breakthrough came through dance videos. Around the late 2010s and into the early 2020s, platforms like TikTok and Instagram Reels were exploding with short-form dance trends. Hinton joined in, but what set her apart was the Apple Store Challenge, which earned her the name Apple Queen. That video didn't just introduce her to thousands of new viewers, it defined her early reputation. People saw her as fun, down-to-earth, and unpretentious. She wasn't trying to be glamorous or larger than life, she was simply joining in on something millions of others were doing, and she did it in a way that felt real. For many fans who would later turn into critics, this memory of her beginnings is what made the later controversies so shocking. I had no clue she ended up how she is now. Back then, Lashay's outfits were casual, her settings were everyday spaces, and her tone was friendly rather than preachy. If anything, she leaned into being the opposite of the stereotypical influencer. That image allowed people to project relatability onto her. They saw her as someone they might know in their own community rather than a distant celebrity. Another important aspect of her early career was how she interacted with her growing audience. In the first stages of her online presence, her comment sections were filled with supportive, lighthearted exchanges. She often replied directly to fans, thanked them for their support, and gave the impression of being genuinely grateful for every like, share, or new subscriber. This behavior helped cement the idea that she wasn't chasing fame recklessly. She was simply enjoying the ride as more people discovered her videos. Do you have any idea how iconic you are? OMG, how old were you in that? It wasn't just the dance video alone that launched her. It was how she carried the momentum afterward. Once she realized that viewers enjoyed her casual, entertaining content, she began experimenting with variations, reaction videos, playful skits, and live streams where she interacted in real time with audiences. These weren't always highly polished, but their rawness was part of the appeal. It looked less like a calculated brand and more like someone growing naturally into internet culture. For those who were there at the start, this version of Lashay Hinton remains a vivid contrast to the image that later emerged. They remember someone who laughed at her own mistakes in dance routines, who admitted she wasn't an expert but liked having fun, and who presented herself as modest rather than controversial. That early modesty and relatability are exactly what made her later accusations of greed, dishonesty, or negligence so difficult to process. It was a dramatic character shift from the humble beginner to someone accused of manipulating her supporters and ignoring serious issues. The video that first put her on the map continues to resurface in discussions for this very reason, a reminder of a time when her reputation was lighthearted and untarnished. The clip wasn't groundbreaking in itself, but it was her gateway to visibility. For fans, it symbolized the moment she became more than just another face in the algorithm. For critics, it became an ironic footnote, the memory of someone who once felt authentic but later seemed to betray that perception. It's important to stress that the early Lashay wasn't without flaws, but she was far from the lightning rod of controversy she later became. At the time, her rise felt more like a case study in how everyday people could leverage platforms to build audiences without needing Hollywood polish or influencer resources. In that sense, she represented the democratization of fame, proof that ordinary people could make it big if they tapped into the right trends with the right personality. Looking back, the gap between her modest start and her later scandals is part of what fuels ongoing debates about her character. Was the early modesty genuine, or was it simply a stage before she leaned into controversy and opportunism? Was she always destined to evolve this way as her audience grew, or did fame pressure her into choices she might not have otherwise made? These are the kinds of questions that longtime observers continue to raise whenever her name comes up, but that early image didn't last. The version of Lashay Hinton that first won people over with modest dance videos slowly faded, and in its place came a stream of controversies that piled up one after another.
They lying. They lying. They lying. That's not even true. That's not even what happened. Don't believe a word they saying. That's not even what happened. You can't. That's what I'm saying. Y'all believe everything these trolls say. I already made a video about it, and I posted. I reposted it and I deleted it because.
What began as whispers in forums and casual complaints from viewers eventually snowballed into larger accusations, and before long, her online presence was being defined more by criticism than by content. Her kid's gonna resent her so much. It's the same cycle everywhere she go. One of the earliest signs of that shift came in the form of her behavior on live streams. For someone whose appeal was originally tied to being approachable and down to earth, viewers started noticing a change in her tone and presentation. She's literally making up the story as she go. She is stuttering and stumbling over every word and keeps stopping to think about the next lie. Streams that once felt light-hearted began to look chaotic. Her speech was sometimes slurred, her movements erratic, and her responses irrational. Onlookers linked this to substance use, most often alcohol. Clips circulated where she appeared visibly intoxicated, and petitions even referenced her alleged drinking habits as a core issue. For supporters who had once admired her energy, it was disappointing. For critics, it became one more piece of evidence that her online persona was unraveling. Instead of the relatable creator they had first subscribed to, they were now tuning into someone who seemed out of control in front of a live audience. The drinking claims were tied directly to another major point of criticism, the condition of her home and her ability to provide a stable environment for her children. Viewers often pointed out the contrast between her online appearances and the backdrop around her.
Shut the up. You do not know what the hell he want. You do not know what the hell he like. Shut up. Y'all just be saying anything, dude. Shut up.
Some described poor hygiene in the household, visible clutter, or what looked like neglect of basic upkeep. On Reddit and in change.org complaints, people accused her of prioritizing personal grooming, makeup routines, or social media interactions over maintaining a safe, healthy living space.
Y'all hurry up and get up in here. Hurry up. Okay, whoever this is in here, I'm really about to cry, y'all. Like, when I say this house is disgusting, I gotta go. It's roach bombs everywhere. Look, no, this not even the worst. House full of food, baby. Let me show y'all. Okay, the house full of food, baby.
What made this worse in the eyes of critics was that her kids were often present in the background. Instead of attending to them, she was seen live streaming for hours at a time, sometimes while seemingly intoxicated. Supporters who once overlooked small slip-ups found it harder to ignore patterns that looked like instability, especially when children were involved.
Niggas do not have no legit reason to like me. Hey, when y'all do that, to myself, I don't want this. Well, you ain't hungry then. The heck? Better make you some noodles if you don't want no dang old chili dogs.
For many who had watched her from the start, this was the turning point. It wasn't just about the change in her content, it was about the change in responsibility. Fans who remembered the carefree dance videos couldn't reconcile them with the live streams of a visibly altered Hinton ignoring her household while addressing strangers online. The gap between the before and after felt like more than just normal internet evolution. It felt like watching someone abandon the qualities that first made them worth following. These allegations added another layer to her already growing reputation for controversy. First, there were accusations about donations and wish lists. Then came claims of bad parenting and verbal abuse. Now, on top of that, the image of someone struggling with substance use and maintaining her home became part of the narrative. Each new issue fed into the last, until her critics saw her sharp decline in public image. Even though some people ignored these controversies and continued supporting her, the perception stuck. Once a creator becomes associated with instability, whether it's substance use, neglect, or erratic behavior, it's almost impossible to reverse that narrative. And for Lashay Hinton, the combination of these controversies meant that the early, modest version of her felt like a distant memory. And once that reputation took hold, the internet wasn't going to let it go easily. From that point, the consequences became unavoidable. Her accounts were eventually banned, cutting her off from the very platforms that had once amplified her content and given her a sense of connection to fans. Even though she recreated her accounts later, the ban symbolized the growing inability to control a positive picture for her audience.
I don't always go off on live. It's just that motherfuckers like to come here and with a like me. That's what the it is. They like with the wrong. Like I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Don't play no games with me. Go play with somebody else. There's plenty other people on live. Go talk shit to them.
For someone whose presence online had been central to her identity, losing that access marked a profound shift. Fans and critics alike were left to speculate about her next move, and without her voice on those platforms, rumors only grew louder. At the same time, reports emerged that her children had been removed from her custody, and she had been evicted. Discussions across Reddit and other online communities suggested that Child Protective Services had intervened due to ongoing concerns about neglect, substance use, and the overall environment of her home. The page was certainly banned, but the kids get taken and she's been evicted. She's homeless on the streets but still live on TikTok, begging daily. While official documentation remains limited, multiple threads painted a consistent picture Authorities had stepped in, and her children were no longer in her immediate care. For many observers, this was the clearest indication that the controversies surrounding her carried real-world consequences. The combination of account bans and custody concerns marked a turning point. Those who had followed her journey from the early dance videos to the era of petitions and critical threads saw a full collapse of the persona they once knew. It was no longer just about perceived misbehavior or social media disputes. These were consequences with lasting impact, affecting both her career and her family. Lashay Hinton's story demonstrates just how precarious the balance can be between online visibility and personal accountability. The same platforms that elevate creators also hold them under intense scrutiny, and a series of missteps, when combined with audience judgment, can create a situation that spirals out of control. The removal of her children and the banning of her account serve as a sobering reminder that digital actions have offline consequences, sometimes irreversible ones. What remains unclear is what the future holds for her. Can she rebuild her reputation when so many allegations have surfaced? Is there a path to regain trust from audiences and authorities alike? Or is the court of public opinion too unforgiving to allow a true, fresh start? For anyone watching from the outside, Hinton's story is a tale about the risks of public exposure, the fragility of trust, and the real-world weight of online controversies. What do you think? Can someone ever recover after losing both their platform and the trust of those closest to them? Or does the combination of personal and public failures make a comeback impossible?